Select tackle from Florida State, Trey Thomas.
Trey Thomas, you already know.
Trey Thomas, Florida State. Trey Thomas, Florida State. Trey Thomas, DeLand Bulldog. Trey Thomas, LFC. Will Thomas, Florida State.
I'm telling y'all, just like I told the defensive line, baby, we was not made this way. You best believe you was born to be this. Everybody was blessed with ability and talent to be what you want. It's time to load them guns up, baby. 1, 2, 3.
Real fans can't get enough.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to another edition of Opening the Vault here on the AAT Sports Network and AATBirds. I'm Chip. That's Johnny, and we got with us the best left tackle in Philadelphia Eagles football history. We got Trey Thomas up in the house tonight. What is going on? Trey, how you doing, buddy?
I'm fantastic. Now that I got all my technology working now, sorry for the delay. I was having a boomer moment, just couldn't figure out how to get everything to connect, but I'm in there now. We're good.
It's all good. Listen, we do this technology stuff. We all deal with it. And, it's been a different world since COVID hit. All of a sudden, we all know what to do somehow with technology. So
exactly.
You did it. Comments are already rolling in. We're going to interview you and do all kinds of questions. But Maddie's saying, hey. Adam's saying, hey. Chris is saying, hey. Everyone's excited for this. So I got to ask a question for Trey Thomas. And by the way, in case you don't know, Trey Thomas, 1998 first-round draft pick, 11th pick out of Florida State, played 10 years with the Eagles, played for Jacksonville, played for San Diego. That's 11. 11. My math is wrong. I apologize.
It's okay. It's okay.
I'm a social studies teacher, so I don't have to worry about that. A 3-time Pro Bowler, a 2002 All-Pro. He's on the Eagles' 75th anniversary team, and he is a Philadelphia Eagles Hall of Famer. He also is the IMG Academy offensive line coach. Now, here's my question. It's Super Bowl weekend. You had the ability to play in a Super Bowl in the 04-05 season, right? Mm-hmm. So what was it like playing in that Super Bowl? And here's the big one. What advice would you give the players this weekend in LA, both game prep and potential potholes?
Well, I think that one of the things that you can't do is get caught up in the whole the party life of the Super Bowl, where you try to act like it's a regular week, but you can't get caught up in that because you might have a certain night that you try to go do dinner with your family or something like that. You try to keep that week as normal as possible, but you can't get caught up in the whole nightlife thing and trying to be out and be seen and hang out a little bit and get caught up in some of the autograph sessions and requests that you get on the, just being out there. So I think that's one of the things that you kind of have to temper as a player going out there for the Super Bowl for the first time.
And just like to kind of piggyback on that, we know that the festivities of it all tend to go longer. So the national anthem is longer. The halftime is longer. As a player who is in a routine, you have your 15 minutes for half normally. Now you're closer to half hour, 45, maybe even an hour sometimes. How do you stay up through these longer breaks than usual?
You'll keep your mind into it. It's nothing that I'm sure that a lot of the coaches have prepped them for this and are trying to get their minds right. And it helps when you have a team that's already gone through this process before to kind of get get the rhythm of it. But I think that's where Cincinnati might have a problem. But I think that they're so young and hungry that I don't think it's going to be an issue.
Yeah.
No, that's great info there. One thing I want to talk about is, you played the majority of your career in Philadelphia. What does Philadelphia mean to you?
It means everything, man. It was a city that I always wanted to play for right out of the gate. Just because I was taking a lot of my trips. When you go through the whole draft process, you take a couple of trips. I went to Dallas. I went to Oakland. Back when Oakland was Oakland, it wasn't the LA. The Vegas Raiders now. I went down to Washington, and then right after the Washington trip, I came up here and met with Juan and Ray Rose at the time. And, just right then, I knew that this was the city for me. I thought that I knew that Juan Castillo would be a really good coach for me, just how he was when just off introduction, the first time I stepped out on the vet. I was in street clothes and just fresh off of a little, I don't know, it was a train ride or a car ride up here from Washington. And then they had me out there on the turf doing vertical sets on the turf, and I was just like, you know what? This is where I want to be, and it was just, I ended up, I was supposed to go to Seattle afterwards, and I ended up canceling that trip just because I just was like, you know what, this is it for me. I feel like this could work out, and I'm glad it did, because, to cancel a trip after being there with a team kind of, it kind of could mess up some things, but I'm glad it really worked out for me, and I was drafted here.
Yeah, look, like you said, you played here for the majority of your career. This is an interesting question, and it's, again, tying it into a little bit of the old and new. So you played in 3 Pro Bowls, and this was still when the Pro Bowl was kind of, I want to call it legit. Mm-hmm. Did you happen to watch the game this past weekend? And if so, do you have any thoughts about what you watched?
I caught a couple of the highlights of it. Just it was like a two-hand touch. Nobody really wanted to get hurt type situation. It's tough, because I get it. As a fan, you want to go out there and you want to see the guys compete. Sure. But even when we were out there, it was kind of like, whoa, hey, now let's make it look good, but it doesn't need to be full tilt. I shouldn't have to deal with a bull rush. And I'm not going to punch you in your face either. So, let's try to keep it, a little moderate here. But you still, when that fourth quarter hit, then all bets were off. Everybody's trying to get a win. But, I think that at the end of the day, you still want to compete. But, you don't want to go out there and just play two-hand touch. I feel like if the game is going to be like that, you may as well not have it, Go ahead and just do the little skills, a little fun stuff, and be recognized, and then just let it go. Because if it's going to be just because you got people out there paying hard-earned money to come out there and they want to see you play, and and it's not like basketball, you know what I'm saying? Like even in the basketball all-star games, no one's playing defense. Everybody's dunking from the free throw line, But I guess it looks a lot worse when it's half effort when it's football, just because it just looks bad.
Right. It is such a physical sport. And it's funny because we have another show on this network with Jeremy Bridges, and we asked him the same question last night, and his answer was, Johnny, if I'm correct, was to just cancel it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's just like do the skills thing. You can do the skills competition. Right. You can get that stuff. Put that in there. But in terms of what they're doing, it's not what it used to be. But again, they don't want to get hurt. And, it's understandable. There's a lot of money on the line. These guys, if they get hurt this late, it goes into the next year. But speaking of, looking at your career, looking at your time with the Eagles, who would you say who's your biggest rival opponent? Last week we had Barrett Brooks on. We asked him some questions like that as well. And I want to kind of get your input. You played a lot against a lot of great pass rushers. I know your rookie year you played against some of the best, especially Derek Thomas was one of them. Who would you say throughout your career was your biggest rival, the guy you went toe-to-toe with year after year?
I think Simeon Rice was the toughest one that I had to deal with throughout my career, just because, and I've been consistent on this, he was just extremely difficult for me. He made me change the way we play and the way we shot our hands, which kind of helped me develop as a player. But he was definitely one of the most difficult ones that I had to deal with. And then just locking horns with Bruce Smith all the time. You know what I'm saying? That was 2 times a year, especially when he was in Washington. So, you know, that was always a good matchup as well, you know, going up against OC. You know, Jamarcus Ware. So, I mean, you know, it was there are a lot of guys that I used to see twice a year. But, you know, I think that Simeon Rice was out of that bunch, one of the tougher guys that I had to deal with. And I just kind of felt like, damn, here we go. Let me, you know, let's strap it up. Here we go. You know, you got to deal with this awkward dude. But I mean, it were good battles.
And the thing is, Trey likes when I post videos up there on the All About the Birds account, and you see, you know, you getting beat. And I know it's all for play.
Yeah, you know what? Yes, I get up in the morning. It's early in the morning, and I look at my Twitter timeline, and you have me tagged. And I'm like, how the hell you tag me on something with me getting beat? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I haven't even had my breakfast yet. And I'm watching Simeon Rice beat me for a sack. And you know what I'm saying? I'm like, you know what? From here on out, only plays of me being awesome. You know what I'm saying? Like,
there's a lot of them.
You know, the only plays of me being awesome. I don't want to see plays of me getting beat because it happens. You know, like every now and then, you know, the moon and stars align. And something will happen, and the defensive player will get the best of me. But, I mean, you know, it's not what I want to see first thing in the morning. You know, Simeon Rice beat me for a second. I'm like, oh, yeah, that's awesome. Good job. Really good find.
Well, it's funny because Johnny has a newborn baby at home, so he's up at all hours of the night, and he is scouring the darkest corners of the internet to find those rare videos that you're speaking of. And so then let's hype it up a little bit then. Who is that one player that you saw on the schedule that you're like, I already know his number. I know his moves. He might as well not even dress.
No one. I really didn't have anyone like that, you know, because I never wanted to go into a game like that. I always wanted to stay sharp because anytime you went into a game, it's like, oh, yeah, I got his number. Don't worry about it. That's when you get worked over pretty good. So, you know, I always kind of tried to just, you know, try to approach it every game with the same mentality. I didn't want to go in and just feel like, all right, this is going to be an easy game for me, you know. And you know, some of the hardest games that I've had to deal with were guys that say if the starter was hurt and you had a backup or a second and third string guy that was playing and, you know, you didn't have a lot of film on him, man, that, you know, those were the worst games just because of the preparation that you usually put into a game. You know, and now you don't have that same film study. Those were some of the hardest games that I had to deal with.
Well, right. And on top of that, the hunger of that guy to, you know, prove something against a Trey Thomas. So it's, I hear you on that one.
Yeah, and it's tough too. You know, the biggest thing you think of when you talk about that, you know, a starter not being hurt, you have the backup has to go in. You see it all the time with offensive linemen as well, especially with the Philadelphia Eagles, as we know the last couple of years with offensive linemen going in and out. You know, at your time when you were hurt, of course, a Sunday night game where Osi Umenyiora got the best of Winston Justice. You know, on your end, as you know, you're not able to go, you're not able to play, and to see that, how hard is that to watch? You know, a young guy struggle like that.
Well, it sucked. I thought it sucked for him, but it got me an extra year on my contract. So, you know, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, you know what I'm saying? I'm like, hey, man, that was tough, you know, but yeah, they're going to bring me back next year because if he would have gone out there and balled, then that would have been the end of trade with the Philadelphia Eagles. That would have been it. They're like, all right, we got our replacement, you know, because they're always looking for younger and cheaper. But, you know, he went out there and got lit up, man, and I was like, hey, you know, yeah, that sucks. I mean, you know, hey, it just shows you that, you know, how hard it is to be out there on that island, man, you know. Yeah, that was
and
tough.
Unforgivably lit up. That was the issue.
Yeah, and it was on the road. You had to deal with silent count. Oh, yeah, no, get some of that. You know what I'm saying? It looks a lot easier when you're sitting next to me than when you're out there in it.
So kind of along those lines, and I'm big on, you know, tying the new and the old thing here. So there was, I should say, a left tackle controversy with the Eagles this year with Andre Dillard, you know, the first-round draft pick, and Jordan Mailata, the guy who –
You're saying that was a controversy? Are you for real?
There was going into last season.
There was no controversy, man. You knew Jordan Mailata was going to be the guy.
The common sense people did. So my question is, what at this point do you do with a guy like an Andre Dillard? Because he clearly is not going to be the guy. Do you move him on and still try and use that first-round capital on him, or is it like he's a really good backup?
But you know what? He has been serviceable as a backup. You know, he's been someone that could step in and hold it down for a little bit. You know, the thing that I think is just with Andre Dillard is just that, you know, he's light. He's such a light player. And the way the technique that they use, it suits someone like a Jordan Mailata that's about 360, 370, you know, where he can take the bull rush because they're all taking their sets and they have their hands down and they're letting the DNs dive into their chest. And Andre Dillard just isn't that type of tackle. You know, he's not built like that where he can sit up there and take that bull rush. You know, he's going to get pushed. Right. So, you know, he's been okay when he's had to step in and start. I was just looking at his matchup against the Tampa game, you know, and I think he played against Dallas. So, you know, there have been times when he had to step in and he was serviceable, but, you know, for the long run, I don't think he's the answer just because of the technique that they use. It's more suited for how Jordan Mailata is built.
Yeah, and that's huge. You know, the way Mailata, he got the contract extension, everything. He's the guy. You know, he's the guy there, and it's great. But you know, looking at offensive line play and offensive tackle play during your time, there were some greats. You know, Willie Roaf, you had Orlando Pace, Walter Jones, former Florida State teammate of yours as well. You know, you had all these type of tackles. Did you ever kind of look at, I know you're your own player and everything, but look at these other guys and think, you know, you're playing one of the top positions and you're making Pro Bowls, everything, and all these other guys, you ever kind of compare yourself to those guys when you were playing?
No, you know, just because I was so focused on who I was dealing with, I wasn't watching other tackles or watching other players. I was more on who the rushers were that I was going to be going up against week in, week out. So I was more dialed into that because, and then I didn't try to mimic my game after anyone else. You know, just because you know, when I first got there, Juan had me watch a lot of Anthony Munoz had me watch a lot of Anthony Munoz when we first started, and a lot of the stuff that Juan was starting to teach me, you know, you started seeing like a lot of tackles even out there wasn't doing. So, you know, even with punching and the way we were shooting our hands and the way we were taking our sets, no one else was working like that. So it was better for us to just kind of focus on what we were working on and just get ready for whoever we were getting ready to deal with.
Yeah. So we're starting to get some of these fan questions rolling in. So real quick, Chris wants to know, what do you think of Doug Peterson as the head coach of the Jaguars? Again, you know Doug.
I think he's going to go down there, and I think Doug he does a really good job when he has some leadership in the locker room, you know, and it's going to be a thing of getting in there and just finding who the leaders are in your group and just seeing if you got the right chemistry. And if you can put something together, I think Doug is a good players coach. He would get some of these guys that want to turn things around. In Jacksonville, you know, it's been a city that's been struggling with their teams for a while now. So I don't know if you're going to have the type of mentality out of these guys that want to turn this thing around. And I think Doug can be the guy. He'll put together a nice staff that can try to get after these guys. You got Mike Caldwell as a defensive coordinator that's going to be stepping in. So, you know, it helps at times when you have a coach that's played the game that can come in there and can speak to you, especially a team that's been losing for a while. It helps when you have a coach that understands the rhythm of the game, that understands how you feel as a player because he's walked those, taking those steps himself.
Yeah. Adam would like to know, what is your favorite win as an Eagle and the worst loss you experienced? I'm going to add a besides the Super Bowl because that one hurt everybody.
Yeah. My biggest win? Man, I don't know. They all run together. I really don't know. Because I have no idea. I have no idea either way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I try to block all of them out, wins and losses.
Yeah, there's a lot there. You don't want to try to hone in on just one.
Yeah.
And then We'll just go one more fan question. Ryan wants to know what's the number one reason a GM fails to pick a good player in the first round. So now you got to put your GM hat on.
I mean, that's hit or miss. You know what I'm saying? You never know what you're going to be getting in. A lot of times you're going off film, you see what the player, you're trying to pick someone that you think has a high ceiling, trying to see if that's someone that has room to develop, if they have a chance to grow. And it's hit or miss. Sometimes, you might think that, hey, we got a winner here, and then they get to the league and it doesn't pan out. Sometimes you're gonna have it. I mean, Tom Brady was a 7th round pick. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Come on, man. I mean, so I mean, it depends on how it comes out. You never know what that player is going to be once they get to the NFL. It's a totally different animal. Once you get everybody, dominating in college, I think it's a lot easier. It's way easier. But then when you get to the NFL, man, it's a totally different animal.
Yeah, and that's perfect because you look at a guy like Jordan Mailata, 7th round pick, a guy like Jason Kelsey, 6th round pick. You look at these guys, and it also has to do with the coaching. You mentioned him, and I want to bring him up. You mentioned about Juan Castillo. How beneficial was he on your NFL career?
I think he was extremely beneficial, just teaching me how to study the technique, all the extra work that we used to put in, the muscle memory that went into it. I mean, Juan was exactly what I needed to coming into the NFL. I mean, he was a hard worker, and he really put us through it. I thought that, and sometimes you feel like, man, here we go again. But, I mean, every Wednesday was the same. Every Thursday was the same. Every Friday was the same. And he got us in a rhythm to the point where, it made the games a lot easier by the way he prepared us. And I think he taught us how to study guys, how to prepare for guys. And, and another thing that I thought that Juan did a really good job of with me is that whenever I was getting ready to deal with someone that was different, like let's say if I was getting ready to play up against Dwight Freeney, he would have me do pass sets against Reno Mahe. You know what I'm saying? Just because I want to get that speed and the spin move. You know what I'm saying? Or if I was getting ready for the Simeon Rice, he would have me out there with Ike Reese, or somebody else, somebody that was that body type or that same type of speed just to get me ready for who I was going to get out there and play with. So it wasn't just a typical, all right, just go out there and just go deal with whoever you're going to deal with. No, I want you to get that same type of body type or that same type of speed or that spin move or something like that, just so that you can kind of get ready to go compete on Sunday.
Wow. All right. So you worked with Ray Rhodes. You worked with Andy Reid. It's story time. I need a Ray Rhodes story and I need an Andy Reid story.
Well, everybody knows the Ray Rhodes story. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, and like he told that story, he gave that thing, right before I was getting ready to play Derek Thomas in Kansas City, and once he had that speech there, man, I couldn't even sleep. I was just so ready to play, and I went out there and I played probably my best game as a pro, as a rookie, to go out there and line up against a Derek Thomas and have him a 0 tackles, 0 sacks, and that was kind of like my welcome into the NFL to go up against somebody like that and beat him down the way I did. And then, Big Red was just, what I liked about Big Red was that he just allowed us to have our personalities. He didn't really, it wasn't frowned upon for me to walk around with a leather helmet on and go to meetings and just, and just be wild. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of the stuff that he allowed us to do in the hallways and walk around it within the facility was cool. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't like this regimented, like I want you to, even though now Big Red was all about business, but he would also allow a little flexibility so your personality could show because he knew we would play better if we were that way.
I think I like that point because if you look at a lot of your teammates during the Andy Reid era, a lot of them, the big personalities, Hugh Douglas's, Hollis Thomas's, Ike Reese's, all these guys, and all these guys are on radio and doing different things. And, it's good to see, Chip and I grew up with that, watching you guys. It's like, that's our childhood, all those teams and all those victories. And you haven't seen it. I know the Eagles won Super Bowl in 2017, but that era from 2000 up until 2008, your main time there, you look at those teams, there hasn't been a successful period of time in Eagles football. That has been the most successful time in Eagles football. And to be a part of that, what does that mean to you to be a part of I know you didn't go ahead and win the Super Bowl and get that eventual top prize. But to be as one of the most successful teams, elongated years with the Eagles, how does that feel, basically?
Oh, it felt good. To go back and you look at your wall and you have all these game balls and that the body of work that you put in, it meant a lot, and we turned the organization around, and we put in a lot of work, and at the time as a player, you don't think about it, you just doing it, but now when you sit back and you retired and it's all over with and you think back, it's like, man, yeah, you didn't win it, but it doesn't hurt what I've done as a professional athlete, It doesn't hurt when I look back at my career. I feel like, I had a hell of a career. I think that it was a lot of fun. We did a lot of good things. And, you look back at a lot of the pictures and stuff that you have on the walls now, and, you feel a sense of pride. Yeah, we didn't win the Super Bowl, but hell, there are a lot of great players out there that didn't win a Super Bowl. You know what I'm saying? But we were a part of something that was extremely big in this city. And, and we turned some things around and laid the road tracks for this team to continue to be successful. And I just like what we've done as a player.
Well, you guys set the standard of what the Philadelphia Eagles are supposed to be. I think that's big. When you were inducted into the Eagles Hall of Fame, you did it alongside your counterpart at right tackle. Mm-hmm. What did that mean to you for you and Jon Runyon to go in together?
Well, I knew we were going to go in together. Like at some point they're going to, I'm like, whenever they're ready to put Jon in, that's when we going in, But no, I knew that we were going to go in together just because we played so long together. And I thought that it was fitting, the bookend tackles. I thought that it was fitting for both of us to go in together, I just love Jon, man. He's a great player, and it was always a really good person that you can depend on out there. And that's one of the things that I think that as players on that offensive line, man, when you got the two bookends that going to be there day in, day out, anything else can mix in and out. But that Runyon was going to be there, and he could look over there and see that I'm going to be there as well. That dude gritted through a lot of stuff, man, and he was somebody that I knew come game time, he's going to be out there. He's going to give you everything he has.
Yeah, I think that's huge too. And you look at the offensive line, like your teammates along the offensive line. Like who are some of your favorite guys to play? So you played left tackle. Who's one of your favorite players to play next to?
Oh man, anytime my left guard was always my best friend, man. From Todd Harriman to Artis Hicks to John Wellborn to Doug Brzezinski to even Jermaine Mayberry at one point. So anytime my wingman was out there, because they made my game a lot easier. I think Todd Harriman's. I think I played the most time with at left guard, and then of course my center, man, from Jamal Jackson to Hank Fraley. To who then it was Bubba Miller and then Steve Everett, so those are my guys, man. And then once you get on the other side of the ball, that's it starts to change up a little bit, just because those aren't the ones that you really deal with all the time, but it's the center and left guard, that was always giving me the calls and getting me prepared, and especially my left guard, he would always make my game a lot easier, because my guards knew that, and that was one of the things that Juan trained us, is that, look, man, if I get bull rush, if you don't have work, then come take his head off. And you would see a lot of times that guys wouldn't bull rush us as much or try to take us inside, because if they knew if my guards were clean, if they didn't have anybody on them, they're coming to take their head off. And, you could see guys starting to watch for that, and that made my game a lot easier.
I noticed you didn't mention Danny Watkins in your list of guarding counterparts.
Danny Watkins, I never played with him.
Well, he didn't play with anybody.
No, that was 2011. It was 2011.
I know. I just wanted to sneak in a Danny Watkins joke there.
There was a guy that.
Now hold on, wait. Why you don't like Danny Watkins, man?
No, you know what it is. It's I struggle as being a host of this, because I go from like, let's be very official about it, to my fan of it all, and I'm like, Danny Watkins again, this high round draft pick, and I love that he made a career out of it. But as a fan, we're like, come on, Danny, we needed a little more. We need a little more.
You know what? Okay, so here's my little thing on Danny Watkins, and because at the time I coached with him when I was with Chip. I was on the staff with him. Danny, I think, just came up under the wrong type of coach. You know what I'm saying? Like
Okay.
Howard Mudd was his coach. And Howard Mudd was a special type of coach. You know,
Okay.
he was a, you know, the way he would talk to guys and some of the technique stuff that he taught, you know, you would have to be, you know, a special type of dude to deal with it. And I don't think Danny had the mentality to deal with a Howard Mudd as a coach. You know what I'm saying? Like, he needed someone more like a Juan that could, you know, really focus on the small details of the game and get his set right. Because there were times when you saw him in practice, he would take a nice set, shoot his hands. It would look beautiful. I mean, it would look beautiful. And I'm like, man, Daddy, you know, if you could just do this all the time, that's what they're looking for. But I just think that his mindset was already shot from that coaching that he was getting at, you know, that was a little aggressive for how he was. I mean, you know, not everybody can take that style of coaching, you know, and Howard Mudd was a tough dude to deal with. I know I probably would have had some words with him, but, you know, it's just because of how he was. But, you know, I thought that he was a great coach, but I think that not everybody can't thrive under that type of coaching, you know, all the time when you're just bashing them a little bit.
And that's huge, though, because that's big about coaching. Because even coaching, and as Chip is a teacher, every student you have is not the same. You can't teach somebody the same thing. And Trey, you know it. You're offensive line coach at IMG Academy. You have a ton of kids that you can't teach them all the same thing. You can try and mold them a certain way. Each and every individual is different. And I think that's huge with Danny Watkins, and that's a big thing. But if he had a different coach, a Juan Castillo with him, maybe he would have turned out and been, you know, a pretty good player and not wind up ending his NFL career short.
Yeah, I mean, I'm telling you, man. I think if he would have been under Juan, I think he would have been. Everybody would have had a totally different mindset of him. You know, it's just tough. I mean, you know, but hey, man, you know what? He can go put a fire out, man. Let him do it.
Right, and it's not like he's not doing great work. It's just that, and it's interesting that you say that because there's been a lot made of the Philadelphia mentality over the last year or so, especially with the way you look at like Carson Wentz exiting and now eventually Ben Simmons is going to exit. So does it require a special type of player to be successful in this town?
Absolutely. Absolutely, man. You better, you know, especially in this era where it's, you know, social media era. Like back then, I mean, nobody, you know, nobody's going to say anything to you in your face like that. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, especially right now, the way Twitter is and social media, oh my God, you know, they would light him up. You know, just the mentality that it takes to play here it's something special, you know. And the thing that I think that a lot of players don't get, you know, is that, like, look, man, they just want you to perform. They just want you to perform. The fan base just wants you to perform. You could fall flat on your face, but if you do it 100 miles per hour, all right, cool. You know what I'm saying? But, you know, you can't be all sensitive and be all in your feelings and, you know, you want to get out here and you want to tweet, hey, keep that same energy and all that. You know, you're not going to win. You know, all you're doing is making that spotlight even brighter for you the next time. And when you mess up, oh, man, here it comes. You know, hey, man, you know, the first time I've ever was booed was when I came here to Philadelphia, man.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, man. Dude, like, I remember one time, I think it was my rookie year. They came out there with the paper bags on their heads, you know. And I'm like, damn, dude, like, really? Paper bags? And then one time, I think they still do these concerts. It was the Powerhouse concerts that come to Philly every year.
Yeah.
So you had the Powerhouse concert, and I think this was McNabb's first year. I think it was 99 or 2000 or whatever. So, you know, we go out there and, you know, we thinking we you know, hey, we're NFLers, you know, we're backstage. hey, we're NFLers, you know. So they're like, hey guys, you know, they want to call y'all out on the stage, you know what I'm saying? Like, y'all all right to get called out on the stage? and McNabb like, yeah, man, let's go ahead. Let's do it. So they started calling us out one by one on the stage. And I mean, we coming off a 3-13 season, and all you heard was boo. I mean, it was just, the entire Powerhouse booed us. We weren't even there for the, you know, it wasn't even football related. before we got booed at Powerhouse, Mary J. Blige had to come out there on the stage with a microphone and calm the fans down because they were booing our ass off the stage. And I'm like, well, damn, we just got booed at Powerhouse, man.
Well, Donovan should have been used to that on draft day because he was booed when he got picked. So
yeah, but we got booed at Powerhouse. So we got booed at Powerhouse one time. So, I mean, here we are just trying to be social, man, just trying to enjoy a concert. Still got booed.
So what I'm hearing is you went against all these NFL Hall of Famers and studs, but the toughest opponent you ever faced was the crowd at a Powerhouse concert.
Oh, yeah, they booed us bad, too, man. Get out of here. Get your bums. Oh, yeah, we were 3-13, coming off a 3-13 season. Yeah, get out of here.
They want you to perform, and that's right. I became an Eagles fan in '98, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Not unfortunately, because, it's been great, But
3-13, man. 98, 3-13. Yeah, it was a tough one, man. Tough one.
But
we survived it. It. So listen, I mean, you do some amazing things. So what do you got going on in your world right now? What are you promoting? What are you doing on a daily basis to fill up your days?
Right now I'm at my studio, man. I'm at my art studio in Pino's Palette in Cherry Hill. So just working my business over there, my wife's business, just doing some stuff, painting. I go in there and set up my studio and stuff. I was coaching with the IMG last year, but I don't know if I'm going back there next year. I think I'm not, but I'm back on to doing some film breakdowns and stuff. So I'm back up this way.
I saw that man. Film breakdown. I love it. Every time I see that, I have to watch it because I learned so much.
Yeah.
And, you're Cherry Hill. We may have to come this football season, may have to try and link up. And no, absolutely. You do some great work. Keep doing what you're doing. You do awesome stuff. And, Chip and I love anything that we see you doing. So,
as long as it's positive highlights, Johnny.
I know.
Only highlights of me being awesome. You know what I'm saying? None of those ones where I get beat, man. I mean, nobody wants to see that early in the morning.
I got it. I got you. It's all up here. Don't worry. But no.
Oh my God.
We appreciate you coming on. We absolutely appreciate it.
Oh man, anytime.
So this has been another amazing edition of Opening the Vault on the AAT Sports Network. This is our second season of this. We got some more awesome, cool names coming up, so make sure you're checking it out. Make sure you're liking, subscribing, sharing. All of our great sponsors are in the bio to the show. I'm Chip. That's Johnny. And, of course, we have been joined tonight by the one, the only Trey Thomas. Thanks, Trey, for joining us tonight. We appreciate you.
Thank you.
And we end every show here on the AAT Sports Network with a very positive, Go Birds!
Go Birds.
Go Birds.